Hey guys, and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to continue working on the details for the buildings. So let's start. So this is where we left last time, and we're just going to continue modeling. So let's go to the front view, and here we can see in the background image some arches, and that's what we are going to be modeling now. So let's make a new tube, and let's rotate it 90 degrees. And now we can go to the settings and select the X-ray option, and here on the object tab we can change the rotation segments, and we're going to decrease those segments, and we can change also the inner radius. Now let's place it there, and we can continue modifying this tube. And now we're going to change the outer radius so it is at the same size as the picture in the background. That looks good. So now let's go to um, this slice tab, and we're going to check on the slice option, and as you can see here you can modify the angle that you want to start from and the angle that you want to end up. So we're going to leave it at starting from 0 to 180 degrees, and now let's continue. So we're just going to modify the height to around 14, and if we make a quick render, that's how it's looking. So now let's press letter S, and that will bring us right to the object that we have selected. And now let's just modify the rotation segments. Something around uh, 18 or even 20, that should work. And let's subdivide that on the cap segments as well. Let's leave it on 2. 2 should work. And here on the height segments, we're going to leave it at 2 as well. And we can try with the field option, and let's try with different values and see which one works better. Maybe we can work without this option. So now let's make this an editable object, and let's select those polygons at the bottom, and we have to delete those segments to clean up the mesh, and let's use the create polygon tool to create a polygon at the bottom of this object here. And now you can see that there are some lines, some blue lines, and we can get rid of those lines by cutting those polygons. So let's cut them. One cut there and the other one there. And now we have a clean mesh. And now let's go to the other side, and we're going to do the same. Using again the create polygon tool, we're going to create a new polygon, and again we're going to use the knife tool to get rid of those blue lines there. And now it's a cleaner mesh. We can try adding a hypernerves, but I think we're going to work without it for now. Now let's go to the polygon mode, and we can see that these polygons here at the bottom on the left side are inverted, and we can see that because they are not yellow, they are blue, and we can solve that by selecting these polygons and invert the orientation. We can see exactly what it is by deleting some of the polygons here. And we can see that when we select polygons that are inside of an object, these polygons are going to be blue, and the polygons that are outside of the object are going to be yellow. So if we have some blue polygons on the outside, that means that the mesh is not right. So we are going to just correct that, and all we have to do is select those polygons, and we're going to the menu, mesh, normals, and reverse normals. We're going to click there, and now you can see that the polygons are on the right position. Now they are in the right color. They are yellow, which means that they are okay now. So whenever you come across this problem, when you have some blue polygons, when you select them, you can solve it this way. So now we can see that we have uh, these polygons. Now the color blue of these polygons is on the inside, as it should have been from the beginning. But the point is that now we are okay. Now we can select all of the polygons from this object, and we can see that these polygons are now okay. So let's select those polygons at the bottom, and using the extrude tool, we're going to extrude, um, and we're going to take those polygons down so these arches are completed. Now let's go to the perspective view, and let's reposition these arch. And now let's make a quick render. And these arches are working out well. So now we can go to Google Earth and see where it is that we have to place all of these arches. And we can use this background image also to guide us. So now we are going to just isolate this group here, the WD02. So let's move it out and we can delete now this whole group that contained the other elements from the third floor. So let's go ahead and delete it. And now we can continue working on this arch. But first, we can see that we have to make this other part here a little bit bigger. So let's just use the transform tool and make it bigger so it matches the size of the arch. And now we can just go to the perspective view and see that it really fits the size of the arch. So this arch is not outside of this other part. And when we render this, it's going to look like it's only one piece instead of 4 different pieces for this element. So let's try and make a quick render. And it looks like it's only one piece. So we are good now. And we can make another quick render. And it looks good. So now on the edge mode, we're going to select the live selection tool and make sure that the only select visible elements is unchecked and select all of those edges. So now we can use the edge cut tool to cut all of these edges so the polygons are even in size. So we're going to use a value of 8 subdivisions and an offset of 50%. So we can see that there's another element that we have to model here to this element that is going to be at the top of these arches. So we can select all of the elements from this arch and we're going to make a new group uh, with the option or Alt G command. So it is all inside of this null object. And now we can see that there is one more thing that we still have to model. And we're going to use again the Bezier tool. And let's make a shape similar to the one that I'm making. So you know already how to use this tool. You just have to click and drag. And as you know, later you can modify the points. So let's continue making this spline here and try to make something similar to this. Just continue modifying this spline here. Let's create a lathe object and just place it where we have this spline, and let's make this spline a child of this lathe object. And we can see now we have this circular uh, column, but we want it to be squared. So we are going to just change the subdivision from 24 to only 4. And as you can see, we can make it circular if we have a bigger value, but for this we are going to need only 4. And now let's just rotate this 45 degrees. Of course, we can go to the coordinates window and just modify this manually, and that should be aligned now. So we have to make it a little bit smaller. So let's select it. We can always make it an editable object, so we can now continue scaling down. So basically this is all the process that we have to do. Just scale down this object until it matches the size of the object in the background picture, and then we are going to just place it where it has to be. And to place it we can use that edge in the middle of this arch to know where is the center of this arch. So just place it and scale it down, and we can now go to the top view and make this lathe the same size, and we can go to the coordinates window to make it the same size. So we're just going to put different values: 25 for X, 18 for Y, and 25 for Z. So now we can continue. We now just have to position this object here in the middle, and make a quick render. And it looks very good. So now let's place the lathe inside of this group, and let's go ahead and rename this group, and we're going to rename it to window detailed third floor. And let's duplicate this lathe and just position it on the other side. And once again we can use this edge here on the middle of this arch to see where we have to place the lathe. And now let's make visible again the other part of this arch. So this is how it looks now, and we can now just make copies of this, and let's move it down a little bit first so it is like in the picture. We can now go ahead and make a quick render and change the perspective and make another render. Okay, and now let's rename this to third A, and we are just going to move it to the first one. Make a copy and move it to the left, and that's going to be the first one. And on the second one we're just going to change it to B, And we can now duplicate this and put it on the third window and just rename it to C. So let's make sure that these arches are on the right spot, that they are just where these windows are. And let's just continue working here. We just have to place the windows on the last window here. And now we can go to the perspective view. Just rename the last one to D. And let's make another quick render. And it looks very good. Now let's move the camera a little bit and make another quick render. So now we can select all of these elements and place them inside a new null object and just rename these to Windows Details third floor. And let's just try to have it all organized here. So let's move the ruler to the very bottom. Here, that's okay, that's better. So let's make another quick render. We still have lots of things to learn. So stay tuned and I will see you on the next video.